and what I call a nail biter against divisional rival, the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's talk about it. Let's talk Ravens with Yolanda. Today's video, we are going to discuss each player that makes up the offensive line. Good evening, Ravens flock. Good evening to all of you. Look who we have in the building. Before we even get started, go ahead and hit the like button for me. Just because Hendo is joining the show, you know it's going to be fire. Hit the like button for me because this stream, it is not a therapy session because I save those exclusively for when we don't win. And we won today, but my heart is still trying to resume its regular beating pattern. How are you, Hendo?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love live streaming.
I know. It is so good to have him back. Everyone in the chat, just give us a quick thumbs up. Let Hendo know that you're happy that he's back on these live streaming digital streets. But we are going to dive right into tonight's show. This game. Hendo, I don't know about you, but this one was very emotional as I was watching it. I think I went through just about every emotion that I could today. I felt it. What about you?
Yeah, it had its ups, its downs, its highs, and its lows. Early on, we took control, and there were some mishaps and things that went wrong. Then there was a point in the game where we thought the game was lost, but then, victory.
Yeah, victory. I want to quickly say hello. I see everyone joining in the chat, and we are live streaming both on my channel as well as the Hendo from the Rogue Pod's channel.
Too?
Yes, we have, and you can check and make sure. But I'm able to pull up the comments from both channels. So
because I can't pull up anything.
Okay, well, I hope you can see them at least. I hope you can at least.
I can't pull them up though.
Okay, well, we are going to. I'm just going to say hello to everyone. I see Rave Kingdom. Yes, thank you, Lord. This was a miracle. This was, wow. The Hawk TV, Dewan 100. I see you, John Evans. Fire is an understatement. Yes, when Hendo is joining us, when he is present, it's always spot on. So yes, fire is an understatement.
I think he was talking about the game.
No, I said earlier, please go ahead and hit the thumbs up because if you know, whenever you see Hendo on the live stream, you know it's going to be fire. And he said fire is an understatement. But I see you, Just Tornado. Thank you for joining. Big Woke, yes, game of the year. We're going to talk about this game. Hendo, let me start by asking you, first half, we'll just break the game down into halves. First half on offense, and we'll start specifically with the offensive line. What were your thoughts?
I mean, honestly, early on, I really didn't have a thought about the offensive line because the Ravens were playing so well offensively. And, Lamar masked a lot of things. Derrick Henry now masks a lot of things. So to me, I didn't pay them any mind. There were some breakdowns in pass coverage. Some of the run blocking was a little bit suspect. But once again, we have these superstar players that can overcome things. So to me, the offensive line, it needs to get better because Cincinnati defensively is not one of the best teams in the NFL.
That's right. And for me, I'm always watching the offensive line just because it was a struggle for us in the beginning of the season. And when we talk about the offensive line, we are specifically speaking to how well are they protecting our quarterback. And for me, watching them, they're starting to come into their own. They're starting to take shape. We did have a few Ben Cleveland sightings out there today.
We did.
I was very happy to see it. I was very happy. Community of Skeptics, thank you. Big fan of yours. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. But as long as they can keep my quarterback upright, and obviously we'd like them to be able to create some lanes for our running backs. That's important. And how many times was Lamar sacked today? I think just once, but he had a couple of QB hits as well.
Yeah. It was a bunch.
the one sack, but he did take a few QB hits. I mean, other than Hendrickson, and then Hubbard came out of nowhere.
I
So,
mean, those are the only two on defense that you really expect to do something.
yeah.
But I think for me, there has been one omission the last 2 weeks, and I don't know if that has any coincidental factor into the offensive line playing a little bit better. But there's somebody that was missing, somebody that all offseason we were told was going to come off the bench, never playing an NFL snap, and was going to come in and dominate. And just like we told you before, he couldn't stay healthy in college. Why do you expect him to come in and be healthy now? And he didn't play the last 2 games, and the offensive line looked a little bit better.
We
I'm not
were
mentioning his
very,
name though.
go ahead and mention his name.
I'm not mentioning his
Go
name.
ahead.
They know who it is.
Not everybody does. Some people we have watching might not know who you're referring to. To whom are you speaking?
I'm talking about Friday the 13th. Jason Voorhees.
It is. While it is true that Andrew Voorhees,
Call him Jason. Call him Jason.
his name is Andrew. While it is true that Andrew Voorhees was very promising after his injury, I'm speaking prior to the combine, a couple of years ago, there was a lot of promise in him. And I think to a degree there still is. But as you mentioned, rightly so, the injuries, this is a league that says, what have you done for me right now? And if injuries are plaguing him to the point or to the degree where he can't be available, then what good is he? No matter how good of a pass blocker he is.
I mean, he has his value. And I'm not trying to knock the kid. My biggest issue is that the Ravens put so much pressure on younger players. Like, to me, somebody that has been injured, he missed his whole rookie year and came back in, he should have been a rotational player like they tried to do with Rosengarten in the beginning. They should have brought him in, got him some experience to see what he would be like later on in the season or possibly even next year. But they just said, nope, we don't really have too many other options, so we're going to just throw him into the fire and see what he hasn't played truly bad.
Thank you so much, community of skeptics. He just joined. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Welcome to the family.
Appreciate you. Listen, I'm not saying that he's played truly bad, but to be reliant upon him to protect our greatest asset, to me, is asinine. Like, it's crazy. Yeah. But listen, he's not in, and they moved Makari over, and Makari's played better, I will say, at guard than he has at tackle. So the offensive line has played better overall, especially from the Kansas City game. So, we can just hope that by the time we reach the playoffs, they'll have some things figured out.
Yes, true indeed. True indeed. And they have a lot of figuring out to do, not just on the O-line. And we'll get to the part that this team really needs to kind of like focus their energy and their attention. We'll get to that shortly. What did you think about Lamar?
Superman. Like, listen, I said it early on. I was on Twitter and I said it early on. Lamar, save us. Because defensively, and I guess we'll get to them later, but defensively, this team wasn't doing a whole lot of anything. They really didn't stop the Bengals. I know Marlon Humphrey made his play, but outside of that, Joe Burrow, who has not really looked that well, he's played better throughout the weeks. 5 touchdowns, almost 400 yards. And I know some of that coincides with T. Higgins getting back into football shape. And I'm sorry, with Jamar Chase getting back into football shape and T. Higgins actually starting to play. But their offensive line is decimated. They were down to their backup tackle, and then I think he got hurt. So, defensively, but Lamar had to come in. He did his thing. Listen, outside of that fumble, which it happens during games. It happened at a bad time, but it happens during games. And to me, it was crazy. And the craziest thing with some Ravens fans, not you guys in the chat, because we know you all have good sense, but on Twitter, I'm sitting here watching this game, and when the Bengals went up in the second half, when they went up and got into the second half, somebody's tweeting out, yeah, it's Lamar's fault because of his high passes. And I'm like, Lamar is the only reason that we're in this game.
I will say in the beginning of the game, I felt, and this is prior to, the halftime, I did feel that Lamar was not settled. There were, I don't know if it was just nerves. Obviously, it's a division game, a division rival, and a lot of nerves come with every game. But I think even more so, there's a heightened level of nervousness, perhaps. I saw him, I could be wrong. I'm no Lamar specialist or guru, but it just appeared that he was nervous he appeared to be a little unsettled. We did have several throws or a few throws that were overthrown or underthrown. But then we also had a few passes that were catchable for the wide receivers and tight ends that were dropped. So I'm not going to say Lamar Jackson is the reason that we were not in this game or the reason that we struggled. And I'm not going to say it's wholly on the receivers either. There's enough fault to go around. But I did see an improvement in him, certainly after the second half. I did. And so that's good to see.
I don't think he's nervous. I think he's amped up. Because sometimes in games, especially with Lamar, I think sometimes in the back of his mind, he just hears that voice saying, listen, you're not a quarterback. You're a runner that sometimes throws the ball. And I think that he's trying to prove people wrong. Not always, but at times it may get to him. Then he gets in the game. Sometimes it takes for you to get that first hit, that real hit, to be like, oh, okay, and settle yourself down. But also I think it's lack of time with the receivers. Because a lot of times it's not always just Lamar over or underthrowing the receiver. Sometimes you can see it's times where he expects some of the receivers to settle down inside a zone, or he wants them to keep running to avoid getting hit or an interception, and he and the receivers are on the wrong page. So it's not always just he's just over or underthrowing receivers. It's a lot of factors that come into this, and I just think that throughout the season, just more time together, more game time situations, these things may get better.
Certainly. And that's a really good point. What I see and when I watch the game, what I'm looking for is, are we getting better each game with the connection between Lamar and receivers? Does that mean we're going to be perfect every game? No, it doesn't. It sure does not. But I want to see us continue to take steps in the right direction, because this is a very long season. We're only 5 games in. So I want to say hello to Danity. Brodney is also here. Brodney said he loves seeing this dynamic duo on the screen. That is so kind of you.
This is the last time.
I see your bronze hologram.
Don't ignore me. This is my last stream.
Okay.
I'm retiring.
We're not going to let him retire. I see Lunch Break Hot Take is here as well. I see all of you in the chat. If I don't get a chance to say hello, please know that I see you. I see you, Brandon Royals. But
wait, I'm sorry, Mr. Fantastic. This is a factually correct statement. Those wide receivers are not chasing Higgins. That is another factor that we didn't want to get into, because you have to work with what you got, so to speak. But yes, Devontae Adams, didn't want to talk about him, but there are some of those catches he would have gone up and made. It's some of those catches that the receiver has to make a play on instead of everything always being perfect. And I think that's the difference between a lot of these superstar quarterbacks. Be quiet, B. A lot of these superstar quarterbacks and what Lamar Jackson has to work with. And these are some of the reasons why Lamar Jackson won an MVP like last season. He's doing all of these amazing things. He's carrying his team to the best record in the NFL, beating down some of the best that the NFL has to offer, and he's doing it without complimentary pieces. So I think that kind of helps him. But as a team goal, I think it hurts us into winning a championship.
Certainly. And that's a great segue. Thank you, Mr. Fantastic. Great segue into the receivers. We had some shining lights in terms of our receivers. No, they are not, as you indicated, Mr. Fantastic. No, they are not Chase. They are not T. Higgins. But in terms of our receivers, what were your thoughts, especially about Bateman and, to a lesser degree, obviously, I think it's obvious what I'm going to say next, Zay Flowers?
What do you mean? Listen, Zay did his thing. And we all knew when the Ravens drafted him, we knew that Zay was going to become a star. He's still kind of working his way into being that number one receiver. But also, I think that he is not getting the best help. He's getting some help, but he's not getting the best help out of this organization. Stop running this dude like he's a running back. Stop with the trick plays. Line him up and let him do his thing. That's all that I ask, because eventually what's going to happen, being that he is a smaller type receiver, the further you get into the season, he may start to break down and get wear and tear. But he is obviously our best wide receiver, hands down. Rashad Bateman, hot and cold. Like, sometimes you see Rashad Bateman and you see that first round potential in him in games, and you're like, oh, all right, cool. Then there's other times you start scratching your head like, yo, what are you doing? Like, where's this coming from? But I do want to say, and not to take anything away from Bateman, the way that Todd Monken designed that play on his touchdown, beautiful. I think it was a mesh they ran, and he took the other guy. I can't remember if it was Zay or Nelson, but he took two of the defensive backs with him and had Rashad lined up on a linebacker. So
Yep.
it was great to see. But outside of those two, we really do not have a third option. Nelson Aguilar, he's cool, but once again, you'll get a splash play from him every now and again. But overall, Nelson Aguilar really he ain't it.
Yeah.
What's going on, Ravens third ring?
Ravens third ring. Thanks for being here. Rodney, you're right. Now give Lamar more and he'll win you a title. But, and I guess we'll go ahead and talk about it now since we're talking about the receivers.
I thought we were talking about Lamar.
No, we moved on to the receivers.
You sure? Because I want to gush over my quarterback.
Go ahead and gush over your quarterback. I did say a minute ago, I said we're moving on to the receivers.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about Lamar Jackson, all the scrutiny that he has overcome, so to speak, because there were doubts of him coming out the draft. There were doubts even after an MVP season, still doubts after 2 MVPs. But to me, this season seems so much different than the seasons in the past because Lamar is taking more of a leadership role. And it's not just that leadership role as his play on the field. Because before, I understand sometimes you are a do as I do type person. Like listen, look at me. I come in early, I work hard, I stay late, just follow my lead. But now Lamar is more vocal in his leadership. And to me, it goes far beyond just the players. I think his leadership goes when it comes to telling the coaches, yo, get the play in faster. John Harbaugh, you tripping. You've been here 17 years. How do you not know when don't challenge that play? So I think Lamar and his command of this offense is what's going to take us over the top. But if we can just get that one little piece, that one receiver, because what we're doing right now is not sustainable. The way that we're playing, we played some bad defenses this year, and this is not sustainable, but Lamar Jackson is doing his thing.
I was trying to keep this structured. You guys know that I like structure, but I think we're just going to have
like chaos.
I know. So that's why we're an unlikely pairing of sorts, but it's cool. I guess I'm going to kind of skip around and go all over the place here. What I don't want us to do as an organization, I don't want us to take a look at how poorly our defense played. And yes, we are going to cover all of what happened with our defense. But I don't want us to take an internal look on how poorly our defense played and say, we need to go sign a cornerback. We need to go sign another safety. We need to have another look at a different linebacker. Because then if we do that, obviously with limited cap space and the Ravens not being a team that really likes to relinquish draft capital, we don't go get a Devontae Adams. Why? Right. Because we are focusing on the defense. But that's something that I've been thinking about, especially after watching this game. Like, gosh, Devontae Adams would be that one, like you said, Hendo. He would be that one to make that catch. He would go up and get that 50-50 ball. He would do it. And Lamar would understand that right away. I can trust him.
Well, the thing is, everybody's going to come at you and say, well, this isn't Madden. You can't operate like you're playing a video game. Some teams do. And for those of you, they've gone to Super Bowls and some of them have won it. But for me, when we say go get Devontae Adams, it doesn't necessarily have to be a Devontae Adams. It can just be an upgraded wide receiver. It could be somebody a little bit cheaper. But my thing is, why not for once in your life, go out and get the best that you can? We always do that. And we're going to get into this later. And me, Brodney, and Jose, we've had this discussion of when the Ravens signed Marcus Williams. And everybody was excited about Marcus Williams. We were like, yo, he's not even the best safety available. Yes, he may be an upgrade to what we have right now, but he's not the best safety available. So even sometimes defensively, we don't get the best player available. We just get what we feel is cheap and a cheaper option and what we can fit onto this team. So I don't know. But let me tell you, you heard it here first. The Ravens are drafting a cornerback in the first round next year again.
Yeah, I can see it. And I put out a short like right before the draft. And I said, Ravens, hear me and hear me good. EDC. Do not draft a corner first round. And what did we do? We drafted Nate Wiggins. They were trolling, but that's okay. I think any one player,
criminal.
In terms of I'm going to group them together. Well, actually, I won't because we'll spend time on running backs. What are your thoughts so far on how Todd Monken is using Derrick Henry and Justice Hill?
I have become a believer in Justice Hill. Like, I've been very critical of him through his first 3 seasons. I'm like, yo, this dude, he kind of reverted a little bit with his blocking today, but it's one game, so you can't hold it against him. But I think they're utilizing him in the best way possible. They run him sometimes, and he did pick up a key third down. Like, he was stopped short, and he fought for that and got that first down. So running the ball, I think he's doing the best that he can, but out of the backfield is where he's most dangerous. Derrick Henry, we said years ago, get yourself somebody that can take the burden off of Lamar and actually make plays. But I do think that, and I think somebody said it was criminal about Marcus Williams. I think it's criminal in the second half how they utilize Derrick Henry sometimes. When the Ravens get down by 4 or more points, they forget him, because I don't remember Derrick Henry really getting a carry in the second half. For some reason, it's like we have to pass. And luckily, Lamar was on his stuff today. But yeah, just his utilization, like even if you are down at the middle of the third quarter, if you're down by 2 touchdowns, you see that Derrick Henry can make it up in one play. So don't stop running him. He can wear a defense down, and the Ravens aren't doing that. The coaches panic, and they don't do what they need to do. And luckily, he came through for us in overtime.
Yeah, absolutely. I am a big believer in Justice Hill. I think he's a perfect complementary piece to Derrick Henry, because I see Derrick Henry as your bruiser running back. He is going to, he's going to make a grown man look twice and make some business decisions when you see Derrick Henry coming your way. Right. Whereas Justice Hill has that amazing burst of speed, and he can get downfield. And like you said, his determination, yards after the catch, his determination, he's going to fight for the extra yards. That is what I really appreciate about him. It's what I appreciate about, obviously, a lot of our receivers. And
how about Taz Walker? I see somebody mentioning Taz Walker in the chat. And this has been this has been a very hot topic on Twitter. Why isn't Taz Walker in games? Maybe because he can't play.
I am just going to do this real quick.
Okay.
I'm going to take 2.5 and tell you my thoughts about Tez Walker, and I know what's going to happen when I do, because I wasn't even going to bring up Tez. I got my friend here telling me that not to go down a rabbit hole, but I'm sorry, Mr. Bunny. I have to go down this rabbit hole really quickly.
Do it.
Tez Walker was what I thought, and I heard he was supposed to be our big body wide receiver. He was supposed to be that missing piece to this offense in terms of the receivers that we have. Now, is he a DK Metcalf? No, I'm not saying that at all. But I think he's 6'1", 6'2", somewhere around there, 6'1", 6'2". He's supposed to be a larger frame wide receiver in comparison to Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman. He was supposed to be that extra big body receiver who can go up and get the ball and just, where is he? And I don't know, every week I hear that he's out. Why? What's his injury? Is it that he can't play?
He's got handinitis. He can't catch.
He has what again, Hendo?
Handinitis. What's up, big cuz? Listen. What about two rules, Yolanda? What are my 2 rules when it comes to drafting? You never draft a wide receiver from the University of Florida, and you never draft a wide receiver from the University of North Carolina. Those are my 2 rules.
I was with you when you were going down the rabbit hole, and I even brought up Mr. Rabbit to help us. But when you had to bring up the Florida Gators, you just kind of, crossed all kinds of lines. But we don't have that big body wide receiver. That's why I'm saying go get Devontae Adams.
We don't need a big body wide receiver. Big is not a skill. Big is not a skill.
I understand that, but you absolutely have to factor in someone's experience and their resume, which speaks much louder than their size, their stats. And you look at Devon.
You just made my point.
Right, but my point is he's a big body receiver, but not only because he could be a big body receiver and just not really be panning out.
He's the size of Bateman.
I think he's a little bit bigger than Bateman. I mean, I'd have to look.
Bateman's 6'3" and 1/4. 6 foot and 1/4.
Okay, then
they're about the same size.
Then he's a mid-size, not full
Right.
DK Metcalf size.
We've had big wide receivers before. We've
Listen,
had the Marlon Browns. We've had
but have you
the
had them with
Tommy
Lamar
Streeter.
Jackson? Have you had them with Lamar Jackson? That's all I'm
I
asking.
don't care who you had them with. Just because you're big and just because you're fast, and I've said this in a video, they did a study on most wide receivers that run 4.2s. They're not very good in the NFL. Just because you're super fast or you're super big doesn't mean that you can play. And it
Right.
doesn't mean that your offensive coordinator nor your head coach can utilize them.
Yeah.
So my thing is the Ravens need to bring in players that can play. I don't care what their size is. Steve Smith, 5'9", which meant he was probably 5'7 and a half. I'm just on some real stuff. Like,
Okay.
listen, Steve Smith was a beast, but he wasn't a 6-foot receiver, and they could not stop him.
Yeah. Yes, I'm with you, Raven. See, don't get anyone from the Seminoles. They're trash. That's right.
You sure? You sure? Because I could have sworn
Keon Coleman scored his first touchdown today. So
but
yes,
I could have sworn he got like a third of Josh Allen's passing yards today on one catch.
Yeah,
and
they still lost. But that's nonetheless. Don't make me bring up Mr. Rabbit again.
But yes. I will say, don't get Seminole wide receivers either.
At least
unless his name is Anquan Bolden.
Okay, fair enough. Sure enough. Rod Wade, I want a wide receiver who can catch. Me too.
Thank you.
And Devontae Adams, no matter how tall he is, whether he's 6 feet, 6'1", it doesn't matter. He can catch. Let's go get Devontae. The end.
But what about the money though, Yolanda?
You're going to have to.
What about this non-existent salary cap that other teams use?
Then what you're going to have to do, if you as an organization find yourself in a financial deficit or find yourself in a financial pickle, you're going to have to get creative. Give up draft cap. That means relinquish your highly coveted draft capital. That means make a trade, send a nice trade package over to the Raiders in exchange for Devontae.
But it has to be the right trade because some of that cap you may incur dead cap money.
Correct. That's why I said you have to be creative. You have to be smart with it as well, but you have to be creative. I didn't say which players need to go.
Keep it sassy. But you know what you really need to do? You know what the key to all of this is? Drafting the right players. Because if you draft the right players, you don't have to go into free agency the same year and replace them. Because that's what we do. We draft players and it's like, oh, he's going to be spectacular. And then we turn right around and sign somebody at his position 2 or 3 times over. And then that's more money that's spent that could be utilized in bringing in a superstar. But the Ravens, in their philosophy, they're not bringing in a superstar wide receiver. John Harbaugh said it. If you're worried about your stats, if you're worried about, how things go, appreciate you.
Thank you, T-Will. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you. Well, I see a comment in here that said, Rafe Kingdom said, Ravens are cheap. I see them getting Hopkins instead of Adams. I will take Hopkins. Now, is he as good as Devontae Adams? That's a different statement. And
I'd have took Hopkins last year.
What'd you say?
I'd have took Hopkins last year. I don't want Hopkins now. Like, Hopkins is an upgrade. Trust me.
He's an upgrade.
Hopkins is an upgrade. But my thing is, I'm looking for longevity. I'm looking for that stud wide receiver that Lamar can play with for the next 3 or 4 years. And I'm not saying Devontae Adams is going to still be who he is 4 years from now, but you can see DeAndre Hopkins, as good as he still is, you can see him slowing down.
Yeah, you can. That's true. I mean, but I think D-Hop may have another couple of years. He might not have, he might not have a handful. He might not have 4 or 5, but I think he is slowing down, but he can still. Yeah, I'll take Tyreek Hill.
No. Ravens fans said $30 million for a wide receiver. That's stupid. Who would want a guy that can catch the ball and run 90 yards in 3 seconds? Who wants that? It's dumb. I'd rather have an inside linebacker for $100 million.
Yeah. Charlie Kolar. Want to talk about him a little bit before we move on to
braids?
What were your thoughts on Charlie today?
You talking about braids?
That's the one.
I think he played well. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when he caught that first pass, I was like, okay, Mark Andrews, there you go. Oh no, that's not Mark Andrews. Yikes. But he did very well. He had 3 catches. They utilized him more in the pass game than just block. And he had 3 catches, 64 yards and a touchdown?
Yeah, we can take a look at the stats, but I'm pretty sure.
No, I'm pretty sure that's what he had. So 3 catches, 64 yards and a touchdown. I think that he did very, very well. I don't know. You know me. I'm a Capricorn. I'm an overthinker. Like, I look too much into certain situations. And are they prepping Charlie Kolar for someone else possibly leaving the team? I don't know.
I'm thinking the same thing. I am thinking the same thing. I'm going to share my hot take. Love to hear yours, Hendo, and everyone in the chat as well. Before we move on to the defense, is there anyone, Hendo, and also in the chat, let us know, is there one player on offense that really wowed you, someone who maybe surprised you in a good way this game?
No, I mean, everybody played well. Lamar, he didn't surprise me, but I think that touchdown throw that he had Isaiah Likely.
Who else can do that in this league?
Not too many people.
Right now. I know I was watching Coach Evans' stream earlier. And if you are here, for those of you who are in my chat and you have a YouTube channel, if you'd like to type in !house, the Nightbot will take your link and drop it in the chat. So if you'd like to do that, feel free. But you have to be over on my channel. I don't know if the bot works on Hendo's channel, but if you had to pick one person, if I had to pick one person on offense who wowed me in a good way, I would say it would be Charlie Kolar. I would go with Charlie Kolar. I would go with Charlie Kolar because for a tight end doing what he's doing, and especially him being so far down in the depth chart, he's not tight end 1, he's not tight end 2, he's barely back there at tight end 3. He's coming in, and not only is he doing a great job at blocking, but he's also, like you said, when you look, you thought, oh, good, Mark Andrews is getting involved in the game. Oh, no, never mind that. Just kidding. That's Charlie Kolar. So to know that, you got a super chat from Will T. I don't know if I can.
Can you pull it up?
I don't know. Let's see. You might be able to pull it up on your channel. Will T, thank you so much for the super chat.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. I don't see that you left a comment. Will T, if you left a comment along with your super chat, please re-chat it for me so that I can at least read it out loud. I don't see it, but I do see the super chat. So thank you for the support. It means a lot. I would say for me, it's Charlie Kolar for that reason. But yeah, that pass from Lamar to Isaiah Likely, which resulted in a touchdown, under pressure, under duress, everything you want to call it. Like, he almost looked like he was on one foot. Just, I don't know how he balanced himself, how he planted his feet, how he was able to, I don't know how he was able to do it. Other than, like you said, Hendo, wearing the S on his chest.
You know what they call that? They call that arm talent. They call it arm talent. And they don't, when they speak of quarterbacks with arm talent, they don't speak about Lamar Jackson. Now, they'll say, yes, Lamar can throw from different angles and vantage points, but they never speak about the talent in which he throws it from. And for him to pick up a fumble, escape a sack, falling, I think he jumped and was falling out of bounds and just launched it. Like, some amazing stuff.
Wow. Okay. In the chat, if you want to let me know, MDT Sports, I think you have to type in ! in front of the house, and then it should drop the link to your channel. But if there's anybody who I left off the list in terms of offensive players who you thought really shined, please let me know in the chat and we'll come back to it. But we are about to move on to
I'm going to change mine. I'm going to change mine to Mark Andrews.
Okay. Mark Andrews. All right. So Mark Andrews.
4 catches, 55 yards. Get your trade value up, bro.
Mark Andrews. I put out a video I think it was yesterday maybe, and Mark Andrews made my list of players that I really like to see step up. And again, that's it if you watch the video, I said it's not to say that I don't think the players on this list have not been contributing. It's just I would like to see a little bit more. And we did. Today we saw a little bit more from Mark Andrews being more involved in the passing game. Yes, Mark Andrews has been utilized blocking. Like I said in the video, his down blocks have been amazing and they've been great and they've contributed to the overall success of our team. But to see him actually catching some passes today from Lamar, that was really good to see. Justice Hill, Rod Wave says Justice Hill, crucial third down plays. Yeah, we talked about Justice Hill. He certainly earned his paycheck today. He was really good. Yeah. Hot take question for you, Hendo, and everyone in the chat.
Okay.
Would you be willing And I've asked this before, and it's
Yeah.
worth
Yes.
asking.
Trade Mark Andrews. Yes.
See how he even knows what I'm about to say? But yes, would you be willing to trade Mark Andrews? For those who might not have heard me ask the question, would you be willing to trade Mark Andrews for Davante Adams?
Hey, first of all, no. I just thought you were asking, would you be able to? Would I be willing to trade him? That answer is yes. Would I be willing to trade him for Devontae Adams? Heck no.
Okay.
Heck no. Because do you know the draft compensation that would have to come with that? Mark Andrews has not been productive this year. He's not looked healthy. And for them to get Mark Andrews when the Raiders already have two tight ends, they just drafted a tight end, Brock Bowers, in the first round of last year. And somebody earlier said, well, they can just have three. Oh, Raven C, he said they can just have three tight ends. No, it's not how it works. We're the
Yeah.
only ones that want to run a three tight end set sometimes. But yeah, it would take too much draft capital to go along with Andrews to make that trade happen. But to trade him for someone else, yes. And it's not because I think that Mark Andrews is a bad guy. It's not because he does not run his routes the way he's supposed to. He freelances a lot. It's because of his cap value going into next season, especially if this is the utilization that we're going to get from him going forward. It is not worth the money. Like you can cut him, you can trade him, you can trade Marcus Williams, you can trade Eddie Jackson, package them all together, get you somebody.
That's what I was going to say. Trade if you were willing or inclined to trade Mark Andrews, you would have to include something else. And to me, a trade package would have to be what? And I don't study the Raiders that closely. What position of need do the Raiders find themselves? And whatever that position is right now, obviously not the trenches. So we're not trading our O linemen. We're not trading our D linemen. Okay, nobody's trading. But I'm saying, let's say that they had a need at O line. Let's say they had a need at tackle, or they had a need at. No, we're not trading Ben Cleveland because hopefully he'll make his way back. Hopefully he'll make his way back onto the field for more than one or two snaps. Okay, I'm going to hold out hope, so I don't want to trade him. But my question was, if we were to decide, yes, we want to trade, it would have to be okay, Mark Andrews. But okay, if his trade value is not high enough, then we would have to include a position that meets their need. But Rod Wade has a quick.
It's not an if. His trade value is not that high.
Okay. Rod Wade, quick question. What does Nelson Aguilar do? Ooh. Do you want to
He's
take
a high morale. He's a high morale guy. Like he brings up the morale. He's a fun guy. He does flips in the end zone. He dances. He parties on the sideline. Like you need that high morale guy. Listen, we had Mark Ingram back in 2019. Big trust. Like you, I mean, he was productive though, but you need that high morale guy. Like, and don't forget drop passes. Like nobody drops passes like Nelson Aguilar.
I hope you guys are.
Listen. The guy made a video while he was saving kids out of a burning building to mention Nelson Aguilar. That says it all.
I hope you guys are having a good time. If you are, hit the like button. And if you're new, welcome. Please subscribe. Join this family. We appreciate you. Yeah, Raiders are tanking. They don't want to improve, but they're going to want something. They're not going to just say, here you go, here's Davante, and we don't need anything in return because we're tanking. They're going to want something out of it.
Well, okay, so
even if they are tanking.
They're going to want they're going to want something out of it. But what happens is when you have inept leadership, it kind of circumvents the things that you're trying to do. They did that during the draft. They wanted to trade up to the second pick to get Jalen Daniels. They wanted to trade up to get him, but they ran their mouth so much before the draft, they messed that all up. And I think by Coach Antonio Pierce liking a tweet about Davante playing his last game as a Raider. Then mysteriously Davante has a hamstring injury and doesn't play because if he gets hurt, I'm sure they owe him some guaranteed money. So they're sitting him out so he doesn't hurt his trade value. So now you're letting the league know that, listen, we are open to trade this guy. And that brings his trade value down. So, yeah, they want something, but it's not going to be as high as a first-round pick, maybe even a second-round pick that they want. They may get a third and a decent player now. They may need some secondary help. We have plenty of guys in the secondary that we can let go of. We have plenty of guys that may not be here next year. So, show them the door.
And that's my point. That was my point exactly. If you want to give Mark Andrews, and if you're saying, okay, well, his trade value is not that high, then you need to add a safety along with it. Or Mark Andrews and a second round pick, or Mark Andrews and a third round pick, whatever combination, whatever, you have to be smart about it, but whatever combination gets you the end result, that's what you're going to have to do. Let's move on to the defense. Because I know that's why you are all here. That's why I am here. Oh boy. Hendo, Okay,
Yeah.
I'm trying to calm myself down, okay? I'm trying to calm myself down.
Yeah.
What did you think? We'll start with the D line because it just kind of gets progressively worse as we go further into the defensive backfield. But what did you think about the D line?
I think that the D line was solid. I think that they did pretty well. They were aided though by the Cincinnati Bengals because there was a point that they couldn't stop the run, and Cincinnati decided that they scored the touchdown. We're not going to run the ball anymore, and that's because they were passing so effectively. But I do think that the D line held up well when the Bengals did try to run it. They stuffed them. So I think defensively they were the best unit on the field.
I'm going to take a question because I missed it, and
Uh-oh.
then we will resume our conversation about the
The defense.
defense. But I'm going to go real quick. Take Ravens' third ring's question here. Is Devontae a top 5 wide receiver? I'll start. I don't know about top 5, but certainly top 8, definitely top 10. I'm going to stand on that. I think he's certainly top 10. Argument can be made for top 8. Hendo, what are your thoughts?
Let's see. We got Tyreek Hill. We have CeeDee Lamb,
Jamar Chase,
Jamar Chase.
Justin Jefferson.
Even though he's been down a little bit,
Yeah,
Justin Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
Some might throw Amon-Ra St. Brown in there.
I'm going to put him in there. Yep.
Some may say Nico Collins.
Yeah, I think he got injured today, if I'm not mistaken.
His hamstring. His hamstring tightened up.
Hamstring.
But
Okay.
but I think comparably over the last 3 seasons, if you put all of those wide receivers together, I think it'll come out to you Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, maybe Devontae Adams. And you have to also look at the Raiders let go of Derek Carr. And he had Aiden O'Connell and Jimmy Garoppolo throwing him the ball. Still went over 1,000 yards. I think he still had like 8 touchdowns. So if you put him with a competent quarterback, yeah, he can be a top 5 wide receiver. AJ Brown. But AJ Brown stays hurt.
Yeah, I'm going to give him anywhere from top 8 to 6, somewhere in that range is where I can see Devontae. Canton, thank you for joining. Lamar needs to be more accurate. Hendo, thoughts on that? We touched on it earlier, Canton. I don't know if you were in the stream. At least I shared my thoughts on Lamar's accuracy. What are your thoughts, Hendo?
Yeah, he does need to be more accurate. But what we say is look at the plays that he didn't make compared to the plays that he made. Did he make up for it? And I think like with Bateman, we have a lot of issues with him dropping the football because I don't think he comes back and makes plays to compensate for that drop. But Lamar made up for it. He was 26 of 42, which is over 50%. Yeah, there were some throws that he may have won it back, but Lamar Jackson was the reason that they were in the game. The man threw 4 touchdowns. The man threw a touchdown falling out of bounds. Yes, he can be more accurate, but I don't hear anybody saying Patrick Mahomes needs to be more accurate because I've watched, and we even watched during the Kansas City game, Patrick Mahomes missed some throws that would have put the game away. And I mean, easy throws. Joe Burrow, he missed a couple of throws. That interception he threw to Marlon Humphrey. Like, I don't know why he threw it so far inside. All quarterbacks miss throws. They all do. But for some reason, Lamar gets scrutinized more than anyone else. But yes, everybody could be better. That linebacker could tackle better. That cornerback could cover better. Like, everybody could do some better things. Owe could be involved in the game and stop disappearing.
Let's see where this is going. And this is going
south
fast. This is going south fast, Hendo. My mom is here. Thank you, Mom, for joining. Thank you for being here. In terms of the D-line, yes, I'm going to also include our edge rushers in the D-line. And that would include Odafe Owe, David Ojabo.
Did he play?
I don't know. I got to look up his stats. I don't remember.
He did. He had a tackle.
I think he had one.
And I only knew that because I looked at the stats.
Yeah, let's have a look at some of these stats as we go through.
That's the only reason.
All right, so we have the stats here. We're going to pull up and have a look at our defense. Wow, David Ojabo's kind of low there on the list, but that's okay. Yeah, he did. He had 1. So he contributed. He contributed. But in terms of, our D-line, I I was hoping to see more production, especially from our edge rushers. I really was. I was hoping to see more from David Ojabo. I was hoping to see more from Owe. I was not really all that optimistic about Yannick Ngakoue. He just got here 5 minutes ago.
Right.
I'm going to give him some time. But certainly for the ones who've been here, where were they? Where
Well,
were they?
listen. Kyle Van Noy, he gets a pass. He's been our only legitimate pass rusher this whole season. And he's 34 years old. Like, you can't expect him every week to get 2 sacks. You can't expect him every week to get pressures. And also, because he is our leading sacker on the team, teams are going to scheme for him. They're going to scheme to take him out of the game. So that leaves one-on-ones for other people like David Ojabo. But I don't know how many snaps Ojabo played, but I do know that Odafe Owe played. And he is the first round pick. He's the guy that they picked up the 5th-year option on. And he's the one that's out there, Harry Houdini in it, Mr. Whiffs. Like,
Okay, we're going to just
first of all, I saw the tweet. I saw the tweet from Joe Burrow that he put on Twitter like 45 minutes ago, where he said he dropped back the pass and there was a strong gust of wind, and apparently it was Odafe Owe swiping at him and missing, and he did it with such force it just fanned his face and cooled him down on the hot day in Cincinnati.
Thank you so much, Hendo, for that lovely analysis. It was just great. I really appreciate it. So we're going to move on now to, thank you. We're going to move on now to what I think is where we really start to see the weaknesses in this defense. Yes. And to your point, pay the bills. Our D-line is right now our best part of our defense. That really is. But let's kind of talk about this, these linebackers. Roquan Smith, how much are we paying him? 90 million?
$100 million.
Okay. Roquan, he led our team this game with
I'm sorry,
50.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I don't mean to interrupt you. Somebody said from now on, call him Slowquan.
I saw that.
Was not my idea. I didn't make this up.
I saw Slowquan in there earlier. Yeah. We should have kept Clowney. Big woke. I was very upset that we did not keep Clowney. I wanted him. I understood we could not pay him. I understand we could not pay Clowney and Van Noy. We weren't going to do that, but we should have kept Clowney. I don't think it's too late to go beg Clowney to come back from the Panthers. Listen, can we do that? But Roquan Smith had 15 tackles. 8 were solo. Do you remember them? I remember a couple, but for the amount of money, Hendo, that we're paying him, what are your thoughts of Roquan through the first 5 games of the season?
I'm going to take it back to 6 games. I'm going to take it back to the AFC Championship game. Okay. Listen, and a lot of people are saying that, listen, Roquan benefited from being next to Patrick Queen. I'm going to let you know right now, that is not, I mean, that may be true to an extent, but Roquan was balling out in Chicago. That is exactly why we traded for him. He hasn't been the same as last year. He looks bigger. He looks slower. I don't know if the coins in his pocket from that contract are weighing him down, but he does not look like the Roquan that we know. He talks a big game. He talks about what we're going to do and how we're going to play and how physical we're going to be. But then when we get in the game, we don't see it. And I think some of that may be the utilization from Zach Orr. Like, I know sometimes linebackers get caught up in situations, guarding wide receivers and tight ends, but when you know that this player is deficient in that talent, you don't do it. We've had 4 weeks prior to today to know Roquan cannot cover. It's just not happening. I mean, even when we traded for him against the Steelers, Najee Harris beat him on a touchdown for the Steelers to win. Like, we know that he's not a cover linebacker. He's a thumper. He's a tone setter. He's a motivator. That, to me, is not worth $100 million, and he's not living up to the contract. He's been talking big, but his play has not been.
And I'm going to take Matthew Harmon's comment really quickly, but to add to your point, Hendo, yes, Roquan Smith should not be dropping back into coverage. It shouldn't happen. That's why.
An interception too.
What'd you say?
He dropped an interception as well.
Oh, yeah. Last week, it was Nate Wiggins. There were 2 or 3 interceptions that Nate Wiggins left on the field. Today, Roquan Smith left an interception on the field.
And I like Roquan, too.
I do, too. I really like Roquan. I just think that, and we can say this as a fan base or as Ravens fans, that, oh, I don't care that Patrick Queen is gone. Who cares? He wasn't all that great. For some reason, Patrick Queen was a very good complement to Roquan. He was a much better cover linebacker than Roquan than he is.
Not saying much.
Matthew Harmon, thank you for being here. Bengals put a
Appreciate
rookie out there to hold a game winner for the Bengals when they had a veteran to hold. Plus, Burrow threw the interception. Ravens were blessed that the Bengals self-destructed. I'll take this first. Matt Harmon, in the game of football, it's a game of inches, and it's about the team that makes the least amount of mistakes. That's all I have to say about that. Because, I mean, the Ravens were blessed that the Bengals self-destructed. I mean, the Bengals were blessed that the Ravens didn't come out firing on all cylinders. Otherwise, we could have run away with this game. And there were several instances where I thought, man, we can get, we're back on the field. We just went 3 and out. We kept making mistakes. We weren't firing on all cylinders. So I think that can be said about any game. And what do you think?
Listen, yeah, sometimes luck is involved. Luck is involved in football games. But to me, in situations like this, it has a lot to do with coaching. If the Ravens had recognized, and I'm not taking anything away from the game plan, we won, I'm happy. But if they look at anything that happened prior to this game, they would have realized that the Bengals' run defense was very, very suspect. Didn't run the ball a whole lot. Up until Derrick Henry's last run, Lamar Jackson was the leading rusher in the game. But as far as the holder and the kicker go, yes, listen. For the last few years, we've been hearing Evan McPherson is the new Justin Tucker. We've been hearing that, like he's his new replacement. Cool. But my thing is, I'm not even going to put it on the rookie holder. I'm going to put it on the coaching staff that decided, hey, we're just going to run the ball and get a few yards out of this and make this an even tougher field goal instead of manning up and trying to get an actual first down and get as close as they could, like the Ravens did when they kicked their field goal. So I put that more on the coaching staff than I do the holder. Yeah. Like, the ball slipped, and you don't put. My thing is this, and yes, you have to get experience. This is with any job. They want you to come in with experience. You can't. The only experience is experience. But in certain situations, do not put a rookie holder in there with the game on the line, especially if you know he may be a little bit shaky.
Yeah, that falls on coaching for sure. For sure. Back to our linebackers, because we need to get into that secondary, and I feel like we're going to have to spend a little bit of time talking about our secondary. But anyone else from that linebacker core that really kind of underwhelmed you this particular game? And you can leave a comment in the chat as well.
I mean, not really. The linebackers did predominantly what they needed to do to an extent. I mean, I was very happy for Tavius Robinson. He came in there and got a sack.
He did.
I got a message saying, was that Oweh? I was like, no, this is a real game. It's not Oweh. We're talking about real players here, not creative players or sim players. We're talking about real players. So Tavius Robinson, he did his thing. Trenton Simpson, I think for what they're asking him to do, I think he's doing pretty well. Malik Harrison, if you're going to be disappointed in anybody, he's a 3rd-round pick. I don't think we're getting much out of him. Did he even play?
Yeah, I think
or did he? I thought I saw him out there. Did he record a stat?
I'm looking for his name. Let me look. Maybe I missed it.
Nah, he didn't record. He didn't record a stat.
Did not record a stat.
So then I guess the other linebacker, he would be the failure.
Yeah. So.
That's right, Jared. Ravens fans wanted Tyler Huntley, or the other little kid from Penn State, McSorley, Chase McSorley. They said McSorley needs to be the quarterback. Let Lamar go.
That's right, Agnes. Don't come for Oweh, Hendo. Leave him alone.
First of all, Agnes, you and I, Agnes, me and you here. I'm not coming for Oweh. It's just that somebody in this stream, I'm not going to say the host, is always messaging and pumping him up, talking about, the next play. The next play. He's going to sack. Oh, he's going to change the game. Yeah, he gets a penalty or he misses a tackle. Yes, he's going to change the game. So, we're here to speak the truth. Facts over feelings.
Yes, facts over feelings. Jared Green, good point. At times like these, you ignore the people that say that, they wanted to trade Lamar Jackson. He was the reason that we were in the game. He was the reason that we stayed in the game. And he was a large reason as to why we won the game, because we won despite the mistakes. We won despite our struggling. Let's move on to this secondary.
But Lamar does have to shoulder a large load of the blame.
He does.
Like, he has to take a large load of the blame because he came into this organization and decided, you know what, bump what y'all doing. I'm going to start winning. And he saved that man his job. So for that, we have to blame Lamar.
Yes. Antonio Williams, excellent, excellent comment, which brings us to the secondary, which I thought was going to be a scary secondary. On paper, we looked really good. Too many blown coverages. Coach Orr doesn't disguise his defense. We just roll with the play call. These QBs are too good to know our defense pre-snap. Let's talk about the secondary, Hendo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to talk about the secondary, but I have to. I'm compelled to do it.
Why?
Because it's a part of content creation, and we have to be thorough.
Why do you not want to talk about it? That's my why. Why do you not want?
Because it's not a topic that I feel is one that, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable because for me, we invested so much into this secondary, as you just mentioned. First round draft pick out there, Nate Wiggins. Good coverage, though. I think he was covering Chase on a third down. Mm-hmm. Good coverage from what I thought was going to be a defensive PI, and it wasn't. Probably was, but we got by with it, whatever. But
bad coverage on Yoshevich.
Bad coverage on Yoshevich. So it's the same thing. Tell me what your thoughts are on, Marlon Humphrey, Brandon Stevens tonight or today. What did you think?
Marlon Humphrey has been playing better than a lot of people say. He's not all pro Marlo anymore, but he's still holding it down. Like, his coverage is a lot better. Brandon Stevens, I expected a little bit more out of him, especially where he came from last year. Last year, he was just shutting things down. One thing for him that he has an issue with is locating the ball. Like, he'll stick to a receiver. He'll be there, but he has no field awareness, or his ball IQ isn't very high because he never looks for the ball. He's too stuck on, all right, let me stick with him and not let him get past me. Nate Wiggins, he's a rookie. I don't expect much from him. And this is why I did not want a first-round cornerback, because we're going to put him in situations where you're going to want to put him on number one wide receivers, and it's not going to go well. Yes, it is a learning experience. It is a learning curve, but we could have got a first-round cornerback next year and brought somebody in that offensive line or a skill position. But overall, for me, it is not an uncomfortable conversation because all offseason long, no fly zone. No fly zone. We got the best secondary in the league, and I tried to believe it. I had a little sip of the Kool-Aid because it was hot outside, and I tried to believe that with the assets we have and everything that we've allocated to the defensive backfield, that they were going to be a lot better than they are. Now, some of this has to do with Zach Orr being a defensive coordinator. Some of the schemes and coverages that he's calling, it's going to take time. This is his fifth game, and I think he's right now starting to finally realize how to utilize Kyle Hamilton.
Thank you, Shadow Girl. Thank you for subscribing and joining the family. I appreciate you.
I think that he's finally starting to utilize the best way to deploy Kyle Hamilton. So it's a learning experience. Sometimes you have to go out there and see the coverages live. Like, appreciate you. And you have to see everything live. You can't just go and look at film and say, all right, this is how we're going to cover it, because you don't know if a receiver's going to break off. Like, you don't know certain things. So it is a learning experience, and we've said this many times before. The same thing happened with Mike McDonald. We all thought he was horrible in his first season, and we were like, get this guy gone now. But in his second season, he turned it around. Now, we technically are in a Super Bowl window now, so we don't have these years to keep wasting saying, let's wait for next year for the offensive line to gel. Let's wait for next year for Zach Orr to get his feet wet. Because also you have to take into account that he was under Mike McDonald. So there were certain things that he should have learned while being up under him. Now, experience is the greatest teacher, but there are some times, especially with the talent level that we have. We have a third-round pick at cornerback. We have 2 first-round picks at cornerback. We have a third-round free agent safety. We have a first-round safety. Like, with all the talent that we've allocated to this defensive backfield, they should not be last in the league in pass defense at all. And was it last season? The season before last, 2 seasons ago, when we were all sour on Mike McDonald. At the time, when Marcus Williams played, we were the 32nd pass-ranked defense in the league. When he got hurt, things picked up a little bit.
Okay. I'm with you. And I've seen the comments coming in through the chat. Yes. And a lot of you are saying the exact same thing I'm thinking. Get Marcus Williams out of here and substitute, put in somebody else. It's not working. Eddie Jackson, same thing.
Y'all told me EDC on his stuff again. This is a steal. We got an injured player that used to be a Pro Bowler. Like, we about to go all in on this one.
Put in Bo Braid. Where's Sanusi Kane? We need to try something. I mean, I'm asking for a friend. These are questions that really Marcus Williams and, they kept coming for Brandon Stevens tonight. Or I keep saying tonight. We played earlier this afternoon. You guys know what I mean. You guys know what I mean.
But here's the thing. But John Harbaugh, if you were not a first or second round pick, he has an issue with playing rookies, even some third round picks. But he has an issue with playing rookies. For some reason, I don't know why. Like, get him into the game. And I'm not saying get Bo Braid in there and start him. Rotate him in. See what he has to offer. Stop putting him on the deactive list and let him play. Like, he can't be any better than Marcus Williams. Marcus Williams, like, you are the back end of this defense, and the angles that you're taking and your decision making is horrible. But I don't think that we can just get rid of him so easily, because it depends on how much guaranteed money he has left on his contract, if there is any, that the Ravens might incur. Like, we don't have a lot of money to play with, so trading him may be a little bit tricky.
I understand trading might be tricky. I get it. I understand the business side of football. But at some point, there needs to be a meeting of the minds between business and business results. The business result that we want is to win games. The business result that we should want is to win a Super Bowl this season. It should be. That's what I said.
But the problem is, Yolanda, you like to go at things with a rational mind. Like, yes, there should be ways that you can utilize the cap and circumvent certain things to get it done. But there is also the Ravens salary cap. So you have a salary cap, and then you have the Ravens salary cap, which are two totally different things. And they operate in two totally different ways. And they do not always operate in logic. And I'm not saying that this is the Baltimore Ravens this year, but in the past, the Baltimore Ravens have not wanted to win a Super Bowl. They wanted to be profitable. And that's all a lot of these owners in the NFL want, is to make money. They don't care about winning championships. Some teams do. Some sections and facets of that team may care about winning a Super Bowl. But all in all, Steve Bisciotti, I don't really think he cares. He's won a Super Bowl. He's got his ring. Now he wants to make his money.
Daniel Franklin, good evening. Thanks for joining. Kane can't play safety. He's more of a linebacker. We need some help at linebacker. Did we see Roquan today?
Yeah, we did.
We did. So, I mean, wherever we can plug and play him, if he's more of a linebacker than less of a safety, whatever it is, we need to bring him. He plays special teams, yes.
Which ain't that special.
It's not very special, led by the special teams guru. And it's just...
Yeah, and it hasn't been special for years. Since Jerry Rosberg left.
And Eddie Jackson. It's just not... To me, it's just not working out. Whatever we're doing, it's not working. And one thing I'll say, and I hear this a lot, we have to give it some time. This, we saw the same struggles under Mike McDaniel 2 years ago, especially against that Dolphins game. We were up by 20, 21 points going into the fourth quarter, and defense completely botched that, and we lost. You're right. But when Mike McDonald, I'm thinking about the guy from the Dolphins. But yeah, when McDonald took over, he made his mistakes, had all of the bumps in the road, but then he figured it out. So now you're handing over a playbook that was very successful. So the amount of grace or the learning curve that I think that we need to give Zach Orr is much less than what we needed to give McDonald. Because with Mike McDonald, he was taking over Wink, who used a completely different, we're going to blitz heavy, that's all we're going to do kind of scheme. Whereas under McDonald, we saw more dime packages. We saw more, so we saw a variety. We saw nickel. We saw Kyle Hamilton all over the field. We saw two high safety. We saw a much more of a variety once he got himself in rhythm. So now Zach Orr doesn't have to start from scratch. He just needs to take the playbook, make it his own, put his own stamp on it with the players that 90% of them remained, with the exception of a few players.
Yeah, but you also have to take into account that McDonald had a former number one overall pick at his disposal. He had Jadeveon Clowney. And Jadeveon wreaked havoc and opened up a lot of things for other people. Now, this season, Zach Orr has Odafe Owe as his lead rusher. And I'm not taking shots at him, but the way that Clowney opened things up for everybody else, it helped this defense thrive. Because we all went into last season saying, man, who's going to rush the passer? Where are we going to get sacks from? And we ended up leading the league in sacks. And that's because Jadeveon came and showed us, along with Kyle Van Noy, they came and showed us something. Now we just have Kyle Van Noy. They put all of their eggs in the Odafe Owe basket, and it is not bearing fruit. And I'm not taking a shot at him. It's just that he's not on Jadeveon Clowney's level. Like, you don't take a Florida wide receiver, and you don't take a Penn State linebacker. Y'all told me Adisa Isaac was going to come in and wreck shop, and I'm like, yo, when? Where? For who? So, yeah, Penn State linebackers, Florida wide receivers.
They're about the same as the wide receivers. Coming out of Florida State, sans Coleman for now.
Last time y'all won a national championship?
That's not why we're here. This is not college football game recap. And let's go down memory lane. We're coming back. My Gators are coming back with a vengeance. I didn't say this year, next year, in the foreseeable future, but I move on. The secondary.
Florida
Bottom
haters.
line, let us know in the chat if there's a player who really is causing you to get frustrated and just want to kind of scream at the television when you watch them. Who is that player on defense, and namely our secondary?
Marcus Williams.
It's a tie for me. It's a tie. It's a tie between Marcus Williams and Eddie Jackson.
I can see that, and I can understand what you're saying. But for me, you know how people love to say, if you know football. You know how they try to say that because they're just trying to make somebody feel stupid. No, for me, I had no expectation of Eddie Jackson. Like, I knew he was washed. And I knew he was just another name signing for the flock to get kind of excited about. And people don't realize, like, we have been brainwashed as a fan base to look for certain things, to think about certain things. We see name value on defense and we forget all about what the offense needs. And for those of us that said, listen, calm down. Defense does not win championships, because that they had throughout from 2002 on, the Ravens would have multiple Super Bowls because they had some of the deadliest defenses ever, but they didn't have the offenses to back them up. So when we see these name values, we get a little excited. But I saw Eddie Jackson and was like, he may come in here and do some things, but who's he starting over?
Yeah. Jared Green said, I was hoping Owe would get a sack this game. Me too. I just knew you couldn't have told me that Odafe Owe was not going to have a sack this game. I was not going to believe you. I was not. I absolutely was not. And because you leave my Florida Gators alone, we're working on it, okay? We're working on it. Jared Green says Brandon Stevens for him. There are so many different players that you can put in that category of, this particular player on defense really bothers me right now. This particular player on defense is annoying me. So I'm seeing a lot of the same in the chat. Marcus Williams, Brandon Stevens, Williams by far, Eddie, all of it. So we've got an issue. We have a serious issue.
Let's not sleep on it. Let's not sleep on the fact also that, it's not being biased or anything, but we did lose a slot corner in Florida State, cornerback Ronald Darby. Like, he was a big part. A lot of people don't want to admit it. He was a big part of the team last year. That was another loss that we had. Like, he came in and helped in the slot.
Shout out to Geno Stone today. What did he do?
He missed on Lamar a couple of times on some sacks.
There you go. Thank you, Geno, for still being a Raven, even though you're not with us.
He said, I miss y'all so bad. I'm going to do my impersonation of OA.
Do you see, ladies and gentlemen, how fast this conversation goes left? We were on a serious note, and then Hendo just goes far left. And Big Reg, thanks for joining. He said, Michael Parsons is good, and he is a Penn State linebacker. Oh, good point. Good point.
Oh no, they're always. I don't care in any situation. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule. Now, the thing that the Dallas Cowboys have run into is now next season they're going to have to pay a big contract to Micah Parsons. The only issue with Micah Parsons is he's not the Micah Parsons of 2 seasons ago. Teams have found out how to kind of navigate around him. You go towards him, you don't go away from him because of his speed. So, I mean, he's really good. I don't take nothing from him, but I mean, I don't know why you thought that the Ravens could pick up a gem from Penn State.
Well, I see you, Equip Institute. Thank you, Florence, for being here. And I saw David in the chat earlier. David is a Patriots fan. Sorry that your team did not win to the Dolphins today, your division rival. But you were going to say something, Henda? Yes.
Who is TJ Tampa? Who is
The
that?
same person. He's the same person on defense as Tez Walker is on offense.
Another wasted
MIA.
draft pick. Oh,
MIA.
yeah, but we
That's who
need all
TJ Tampa is. He's
we
the
need 11
equivalent.
draft picks.
He is the equivalent of a Tez Walker for our offense. Who has Tez Walker been for us? If Tampa is not ready, then Ecamm is Tez Walker ready?
No, they're not.
I know, but
Which is somebody we could have drafted next year and actually got some positions of need.
Yeah.
This year,
Osman,
some real positions or use that to trade up and get some better players. Stop going with quantity and go with quality.
Yeah. Osman, thank you for joining. Be the change you wish to see. Hope Marcus Williams doesn't have much guaranteed money left. I don't know. I'd have to take a look.
It doesn't matter. He plays on defense. He'll be around.
He'll be around. Yeah. Well, yeah. ZTBX TV. Yolanda, where was Oweh today? You know what? Okay. You know what? Okay, I have the perfect answer. Hold on. I want to make sure I respond to this question. You know, I appreciate you coming in and taking the time to chat with me. Yolanda,
he was doing his best Harry Houdini.
Where was Oweh today? He was probably joined in the same ranks as David Ojabo. Wait. Let me finish. He was probably somewhere along the same ranks as Marcus Williams, probably somewhere alongside, Brandon Stevens to a lesser degree. He was probably also with Eddie Jackson. So he was hanging out, to answer your question, he was hanging out with his teammates who were not really very productive. And again, we give Kyle Van Noy a pass because he has been leading this team thus far. But the others?
So let me ask you a question. I know you may not be as old as I am, but when you were a kid, did you ever watch Sesame Street or Electric Company? I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Electric Company. Have you ever seen Electric Company before? No. Hey, you guys. Okay. Old show. I think I used to watch it like in the late 70s, early 80s. And they had this one little segment, and they did this little song, like, one of these kids is doing his own thing. One of these kids, you know what I'm saying? And one of these kids, being Odafe Oweh, is a first round pick, whereas the others are not. So you can lump him with them, but he is a first round pick. What?
David Ojabo would have been a first round pick, but
for his y'all kill me with this. Y'all kill me with this would have been first round pick.
David Ojabo was slated to be a first round pick, but for his injury and him falling.
Personal question. How long have you been covering football?
In terms of content creation since February?
No, just in general.
How long have I been
the draft. No, how long have you been following the draft in general?
I don't know. 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years. So I don't know how closely you follow the draft, but each and every season, they start when the college football season begins to the middle, national championship game, right up into the draft. And they have these prospects and they have these rankings of where people should go. Then we get to the actual draft, and all of these guys that were projected first round picks don't go in the first round. So you can miss me, but that was a projected first round pick. There are a lot of guys that were projected to be a first round pick that weren't first round picks. Once again, Odafe Oweh was the only one that was actually a first round pick. We have to judge him a little bit differently than we judge everyone else, because he actually and literally went in the first round. And today he was Mr. Meme. I don't know if you've seen that meme where it's the guy standing there and he puts the 2 fingers up and just disappears. That was Oweh. He said, I got my 5th year option.
But Oweh wasn't by himself, though. The rest of this defense disappeared right alongside him. So you can miss me with all of that too, because yes, he was a first round pick. Expectations are high for him, but the expectation is we're paying how much to Roquan? The expectation is we're paying how much? The expectation is we're paying how much to Marcus Williams? 70. The expectation is we're paying how much to, so you see where I'm going with this? So yes, first round pick, I understand. The point is we're paying all of this money, as Coach Evans likes to say, we're investing all of this into the groceries, which is called our defense.
Well, see, some of us shop at Whole Foods. Others shop at ShopRite.
Okay. Listen, it doesn't matter.
Them groceries ain't the same.
Yeah. That's right, Agnes. The season is not over yet. This is only game 5. Odafe Owe, he is coming
Hold on,
back. I will
hold on,
have to put my,
hold
I
on.
have to put my Odafe Owe shirt, my jersey on for next week. I have to go get my Odafe Owe.
Agnes, I love you, Agnes. I love you, Agnes. But these are the things that we do as a fan base. We do this and I'm not just talking about we do this as a fan base every year. Oh, it's only the third game of the season. Oh, it's only the fifth game of the season. Oh, it's only the ninth game of the season. Oh, it's only the 10th game of the season. Yolanda has done this song and dance for the last 2 years. We still got 8 games left. We still got 5 games left. We still have a game left. Well, he's not getting 6 sacks in the last game, Yolanda.
I don't know how many he's getting in the last game, but like I
No, I'm
said,
just saying.
we still have
We keep
games
pushing
6
stuff.
through.
We keep pushing stuff down the line. I hope he does better. He showed the potential that he can do it. He had 2.5 sacks in a game. I guarantee you, he would not end the season with more than 6 sacks. But he has the potential to be better.
Be More Cat. Seriously, how long have you been covering football? Real question. Do you expect the other team to not perform as well? Shaking my head.
Oh, most definitely. But
Yeah.
when you have a team that has struggled versus some of the lesser teams in the NFL, I understand it is a divisional game. I get that. Like, I've been watching the NFL since the early 80s, and I understand it. But this is a team that struggled against the Panthers. They almost lost to the Panthers. And I would like to think that the Ravens are on a higher level than the Panthers are. Not to say that they shouldn't struggle, but like, let's be real about some things.
And just to turn the page a little bit, and I know we're going to celebrate this win. We're not players. Players get 24 hours, and then I think they have to turn the page. We can celebrate this a couple of days. We can celebrate this into into next weekend if we want. But next weekend, we are facing the Commanders. Mm-hmm. We're taking on Jaden Daniels and company, who have been, I think they are 4-1. They've been very, very good. What is our answer for Jaden Daniels next week? But that's not for today. We'll preview the game, or on Thursday. Yeah, you see how
let's get our things correct. Let's get it correctly. Not we, ye, you. This is my last one. I'm retiring after today.
We're not going to let Hendo retire. No. Last question before we go. What are your thoughts on the coaching staff as a whole this game? And you can leave it in the comments. And if you're watching on replay, thank you. Leave a comment down below. Let us know what your thoughts were on today's win.
Coaching staff. John Harbaugh, 17-year head coach. Some consider top 5, some consider Hall of Fame consideration. I'm not understanding how you're making the same mistakes that you made 16 years ago that you're making today. And I think that him calling that timeout at the end of the half kind of turned the tide. I understand Tylan Wallace not covering, that punt and letting it go down to like the 3-yard line, which led to the safety. But I think the momentum actually swung when John Harbaugh called that timeout. It's like, bruh, you're not ideally or aggressively going for a first down. You're trying to run the clock out. You know it's third down. You know the Bengals have 3 timeouts. You know that they have weapons that can get down the field on one play. You give them a free timeout to collect themselves and give them essentially an extra play down the field. And I think that's where the momentum swung. So for me, I don't understand what's going on with this guy. And I think sometimes, honestly, he's just playing with us. Like, I think John Harbaugh is so unserious about life and football because there were times where he was just walking around holding the red challenge flag just to mess with us so we could talk about it. But he shouldn't be making some of these mistakes with his tenure with the team. Offensively, Todd Monken, I think that he's doing a lot better calling plays, but I do think that he's a little bit hamstrung with what he can call because no matter what play caller we bring in here, they're still running a Baltimore Ravens system. Zach Orr, he's having his bumps and bruises and his struggles, but hopefully by the time the playoffs roll around, he can have found his niche, found out what plays he loves, which ones actually work. But outside of that, I think the biggest problem that we have is the head coach. Few and far between.
Yeah. I'm not going to spend too much time here on Harbaugh and the timeouts and the mismanagement of the clock. And okay, this game, I will say there were no challenge blunders that I recall, but usually there are. But
well, they say he missed one.
He did. He missed one. The face mask. He did. He missed the face mask.
You can't challenge the face mask.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was in the first half. It was in the first half. He didn't challenge it, and who knows if it would have got overturned anyway. But there were times where it was like, there's no need to challenge this. He's just walked. He's itching.
He had his hand right there, and I remember someone saying, and as I said, Coach Evans streams like, take your hand off that challenge flag, sir. Just don't do it. But
It's a drug.
yeah. Listen, again, we ran out of timeouts. That's again Rod Wave going to the mismanagement of our assets as a coach, what we have in our reservoir. We came down to the end and to the wire, and we didn't have any timeouts, and that was just it. So, yeah, we can do better. We can certainly do better. Next week, just a quick glimpse. Next week, John Harbaugh and especially Zach Orr are going to have to be a lot better in terms of coaching this team as we go up against the Commanders. That's just it.
They got to win.
They
It's
have
DC.
to.
It's DC. They got to win.
I mean,
My friends from DC will not be able to call me and brag. I'm
you will never
guaranteeing
hear
you
the
that.
end of it as much as you talk bad about the DC, call them commies and all of that. So,
It's their name. The
yeah.
commies. Look at those colors. It's offensive.
Wow. Frank G. Life
What's
says
going on?
most of the games that were lost were because of Harbaugh. A lot.
Facts.
That's true. There are a lot of games that are lost, I think, because of bad coaching. But there's also the that we have to state that there's been some bad execution on both sides of the ball as well. But that's a part of improving week to week.
But
And I
here's
expect to see us get better.
Here's the thing, Yolanda. Yes, and for me, it is never a regular season thing. I could not care less about the regular season. The only thing I care about is to get you to the postseason. And since Lamar Jackson has been here, we have lost playoff games the exact same way each and every time. So yes, there can be bad execution, but when does your leader, when does the head of that household step up and say, you know what, we are going to make a change? And John Harbaugh struggles with in-game adjustments. He does. He's not an offensive coach. He's not a defensive coach. He technically has no input, and he says he lets his coaches coach because why would he? You're the head coach. Why would I know anything about another coaching position where I can step in and say, don't run that, do something
right.
different? Why would you want to do that? Even though some other head coaches look to the opposite side of the ball and give kind of hints on what they may be able to do, he doesn't do this. So it does come to your leadership and your head coach to say, you know what, we're not playing well. Come on, guys, let's have a little talk. Like, we need to change something. What's wrong? What do you see? What are you seeing out there, Lamar? Like, what should we be doing different? Like, talk to your quarterback instead of thinking that you have all of the answers and letting hubris drive you and your ego to where we consistently and constantly lose. Because the Ravens should have, and I'll say this and believe this till my last days, they should have won at least 2 Super Bowls over the last 6 years. At least 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And we have nothing to show for it but failure.
Yeah. We've got to do better as a team, as an organization. MDT Sports, you're right. We have to bring our A+ game next week against Jaden Daniels. And Rod Wave says, I just want us to beat the Steelers this year. Me too.
What are we? 1-7 versus the Steelers in our last 8?
Yeah.
So Shug tells me all the time.
You. Okay, so it's 1-7, 1-8 against the Steelers. Yes. Be more cat. Harbaugh lets them coach because he doesn't know it. Yeah, we just need to we find a way to win our games despite John Harbaugh, and that's because we have Lamar Jackson. Well, Hendo, thank you again so much for recapping this game.
We're not going 2 hours?
No, we're not doing 2 hours. I saw Brodney said hashtag 2 hours earlier, and then I saw.
This is my last one. We might well go with a bang.
You're right. This is your last one until next week. But this is thank you so much for being here, for joining me and recapping this game. This one I had all the feels. I was happy. I was sad. I was scared. I was nervous. I was on pins and needles. Then I took a sigh of relief. What'd you say?
I was telling Rod 21-1.
Oh, okay. So this game had all the feels. But before we go, Hendo, if you would please let everyone know where they can find you and what you have going on your channel.
You can find me on the Rogue Pod on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. I do videos throughout the week. Sometimes I think I'm funny. Sometimes I try. I don't know if I actually make it, but I attempt at it. I don't live stream. I'm not going to do that. That's something we don't do around here. I'm not going to try that. But if you like what I do and you appreciate what I'm doing, listen, just watch the video, subscribe. I am less than 150 50 subscribers away from 5,000. So, if you could just go over there, it takes a second. Like, subscribe. Also, and if you want to support the channel even further, you can go over to my Patreon at www.patreon.com/ROUG. Become a part of this community. We have offline conversations. We help each other out. If you're trying to grow on YouTube, or if you're trying to start a channel and do something, we'll help you with that as well. But we have a great time. Discord's always popping darn near 24 hours a day. Like, we just in there tripping, and it's more than just talking football. We talk life. We try to help and encourage each other in all the things that we do. And it's just $5 a month if you wish to come support the channel.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, please go over, if you have not already, subscribe
Appreciate
to Hendo at the Rogue Pod. I see you, Tech Informant. Thank you so much for being here. You can leave if you would like. You can put in exclamation point house, and the Nightbot will drop the link to your channel so that they can go over and subscribe to you, Tech Informant. Well, ladies, gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. This was a thriller, but we came out with a W. Let's rally behind our team, because next week, we have a tall order in front of us as we take on the Commanders. So until next time, you take care.
Go Dallas.
Safe.
Why are you saying? Beat the Steelers, because then we'll be tied for first place.
That's right.
How about them Cowboys?
As long as they're not playing my Ravens, go ahead and cheer on the Dallas Cowboys so that they can beat the Steelers, so that we'll be tied for first place in the AFC North. Take care. Take care, everyone. We will see you very soon. Stay safe. Always remember, go Ravens. God bless.